Hello and welcome to this week's Robin Pod. Joining me, which is of course powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Joining me on this week's Robin Pod are two regulars, James Purling and Karl Smith. Gentlemen, great to have you on the Robin Pod, of course, and thank you to everyone who's tuning in on YouTube and on X, watching it live, and of course, if you're listening to this on podcast. James, have you got over the semi-final defeat to the Wigan Warriors yet?
I've tried to block it out completely, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, Karl, we're going to talk about the Radio Humberside special first, and we'll come on to the Wigan Warriors defeat, and of course, London Broncos up next. I mean, we were sat together, went to the game, didn't we, on Saturday, and was trying to work out which was worse, that game on Saturday or the Huddersfield Giants defeat at Elland Road a few years back, and it's pretty hard to put a finger on which one was worse, albeit for different reasons, of course.
Yeah, most definitely. I think the Huddersfield game, we had I won't say excuses, but there was more going against us that day, wasn't there? So Saturday certainly feels like a worse defeat, in my opinion.
Yeah, let alone seeing that bloke dressed in a wedding dress, James. I mean, to go to all that effort and then get beat as well. I mean, I probably felt sorry for him most.
Yeah, no, it was very disappointing, wasn't it? Really, I think we spoke last week about it being a tight game, needing to start strongly, and yeah, we just didn't. Absolute shocker.
Well, we'll come on to that later on, James. We, of course, we're recording this on Thursday night, so many of the people who are watching live on YouTube now will have listened to the Radio Humberside Sports Talk Hull Kingston Rovers special, which, of course, featured Rovers CEO Paul Lakin and Rovers head coach 𝗬𝗂𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Humberside for some reason get a bit of stick for their coverage of rugby league. Some people call it football FM, but I think, to be fair, I think the coverage is definitely picked up, and specials like that are very much appreciated. So it was great to hear them two on there talking about Hull Kingston Rovers. We'll go through some of the standout announcements and some of the things that was discussed, James. Of course, it was revealed, which was probably the biggest news of the night. Willie Peters liked jacket potatoes with chicken tikka. Apparently, it's not much of a delicacy down under. So it's only over on these shores. He's having it 4 to 5 times a week, James. I mean, that's more than most people, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I like a bit of potato, but not 4 times a week. And I thought, I think he's it might be in a bit of trouble when he gets home, because sort of mentioned his missus. He made a good effort, but he'd rather go to the local cafe in Beverley to have it. But no, that was what a revelation.
I know. I mean, though, Karl, just staying on that, because it is a serious subject. Chicken tikka. I mean, I'm more of a beans and a cheese man. What about you?
Yeah, it's like pineapples and pizzas, isn't it? It shouldn't be right. It shouldn't be on the menu, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, controversy's going in there. Big James, what about you? Are you a chicken tikka man? Cheese and beans, tuna and mayonnaise, maybe a little bit of side salad.
Yeah, bit of variety, Chris. Bit of variety. I'm a bit like you, beans and cheese man as well. But I don't mind a tuna and mayonnaise. But I can honestly say I've never had a chicken tikka on a jacket potato. I don't think I ever will either.
Yeah, I think keep the chicken tikka to half and half, rice and chips with a bit of a naan. Then I think that.
Yeah.
But no, all seriously, great to hear them two on radio. I mean, we'll go through some of the big stuff. I suppose if people were tuning in expecting some major announcements, it was a little bit tame. I suppose the biggest announcement of the night was the fact that Louis Gorman has secured a 3-year contract with the Robins that'll take him through to 2028. I mean, big things expected of him. Of course, Willie Peters, James, has spoke fondly of him previously about how he's impressed him in pre-season. Of course, he's featured for Featherstone Rovers on dual reg this season. He looks like someone who's got a good future ahead of him, hopefully in the red and white of Hull Kingston Rovers. James, good business, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's a really good business. I think obviously when you're sort of signing on, kids who've come through the academy, I think it sort of shows that the academy system is sort of is working. And I think, obviously, I think we all saw Louis in the pre-season friendly against Sheffield, and I thought, he's outstanding in that particular game. But I thought it was quite interesting that, sort of Willie wasn't sort of saying, he's going to rush him in. He sort of basically more or less said, when they're ready, they'll come into the squad, and he sort of almost like he got that sort of pathway mapped out for him, with going through, establishing the reserves, then going into the championship on dual reg to get some experience, and then, when he's ready, coming into the first team. So, he's not planning to rush him. I think I've seen some comments that, would he potentially be coming in on Sunday? And I was going to talk about the Sunday game later on with Burgess being out. But no, I think it's a great signing. He's a kid who I've sort of seen it, as I say, on the preseason friendly, and is really excited. So, the fact we've got him tied down is great news.
Yeah, I mean, Karl, someone I spoke to, former 𝗀𝗂𝗀𝗏 radio commentator Phil Barrett about on social media. And I know something a few other supporters have mentioned about, the club mentioned the academy and the importance of bringing players through. I suppose there's a little bit of frustration that some of these players aren't getting any game time in the first team at the moment, albeit I know it's very hard with where Rovers are in the league and what we're challenging for. We saw Leo Tennyson earlier on in the season go onto the bench, but he didn't get any game time. And then there's a question mark around some of the players we've signed, isn't there? I mean, AJ Wallace is yet to feature, although, he's got a hopefully long-term future. Reece Butterworth's come in. He's departing at the end of the season. And then you look at a couple of players we've been linked with at the moment. Bradford's Ereb Doro. I mean, he's playing exceptionally well in the Championship at the moment, so it's no wonder the Robins have got eyes on him. Interestingly, Willie Peters said he's had his eye on him since he was over in Australia, so when he was coaching over there. So he's a player who's admired for a long time. And then we've seen the French trialist, Mathieu Pons. I mean, he's only been playing rugby league for one season. Came over to Robins on trial. He played against Leeds, scored a couple of tries. He's supposed to be going out to Halifax now to get game time there, with the Robins keeping an eye on him, someone who's very keen. I mean, they're 23 years old and 22 years old, respectively. I suppose when you bring in players like that, though, it's stunting the potential for some of these academy players like Tennyson, like Fishwick, to get that game time, isn't it? And I suppose that's why some supporters will be a bit frustrated that, when, the likes of Gorman aren't getting game time a little bit early on in their careers at Hull Kingston Rovers.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them, isn't it? In any team sport, you simply can't play everybody, can you? And not everybody gets into your 21, do they? So a couple of years ago, the likes of them guys would have probably got a bit more rub of the green, but they can't do right for doing wrong sometimes, the Rovers, because we're in a good place in terms of progression. So you've got to slowly but surely bed these players in. And for me, a lot of these young kids get signed on potential rather than actual facts, and that's why they're in the Championship with no disrespect to that division or that standard, but they get signed on, I won't say a whim, but they get signed on the fact of they might fill for potential, they might do well, they might, so you might see, 50% of them come through and 50%, I won't say they're wasted time, but, they have a few seasons and they just can't quite cut it. So, yeah, it swings around about. Some of them come off and some of them don't. The biggest thing for me would be that, because a lot of these players are coming from the Championship and part-time environments, Willie Peters signs them off the back of this environment, and then when they come into a full-time environment, it's a totally different ballgame for him. And, what he sees when he signs them to what he doesn't see, hence why he doesn't play them. And, you can't... There's a lot of things that go into make a decision whether they get game time or not. So it's the easiest thing in the world to criticise why they aren't getting that game time, but there's a number of factors that are involved in them decisions.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see some of the younger players getting some game time in 2024 in the red and white of Hull Kingston Rovers. Another announcement that was made, James, was that memberships, of course, are currently sold out. There's a waiting list, apparently, of 700 to 800 people are waiting to get season passes for the Robins. And that's why the club are looking at putting a temporary extension into the East Stand, which should accommodate around 1,000 people. Paul Lakin stressing to James that it was temporary because they needed to fill it, to show that the demand was there. And if the demand was there and they did fill them spaces, then they'd look at making a permanent structure there or extend the East Stand. I mean, he said, didn't he, building prices, etc., are absolutely through the roof at the moment. I mean, it's people like Karl, who's a joiner as well, ripping everybody off, no doubt, putting an extra zero on every invoice, every quotation. So I'm joking, of course. But of course, it's good news for the Robins that they're looking at putting this extra capacity in, and I suppose as the Robins continue to fly, people will want to watch them, and it's important that when these places are put in, people fill them.
Yeah, they are. I mean, in a way, it's a really nice problem to have. You know, the fact that we are sort of, you know, regularly selling out the ground and, you know, going in that east stand on, you know, most, you know, the games now, it's absolutely rammed in. And we're probably there about an hour and a half before kickoff just to get a decent spot, because that's what you need to do. And like I say, if they can, you know, they can extend it and prove it is viable, and getting those extra spaces filled, then justifies that case to build it. And if nothing else, talking about the cost of building an extension, you know, you're getting another 1,000 people in there on a regular basis. That's obviously generating more cash. That's going to help go toward funding that extension. And it does, you know, like I said, it just really need it. But as I said, it's a great problem to have. And I suppose then the challenge is, once, you know, we fill that side of it, where next? You know, if we find we're getting over capacity and you've got 700 people on a waiting list, and we do become, you know, maintain this success over the next sort of few years, you know, we are going to get more and more people wanting to come to games, and, you know, it's going to be a problem again where to put everybody.
Yeah, the East Hull Mecca is like I like to refer it to at the moment. If you're watching on YouTube or listening, please get involved. Make sure you comment. Let us know what you made of Willie Peters and Paul Lakin's comments. I suppose, Karl, I mean, one thing is, well, with the East Stand, Karl, if everyone stops standing in the middle and just spread out to the sides, there's easy a bit of room there, isn't there?
Yeah, they're scared to go too far into the terraces off the aisles, aren't they? Because they're all fighting for the beer queue, aren't they? So, you know, they don't want to go too far in, because it could be back into the queue by the time they get down there. So, yeah, there's definitely room for manoeuvre type of thing. So
yeah. Lakin was quizzed on whether any approach from the NRL had been made to Super League with regards to playing a game over in Las Vegas. Of course, the NRL played 2 fixtures there, didn't they, at the start of their season? You know, lauded as a success and something that they're able to build on, because they've signed a long-term deal to play games out there. Paul Lakin said that there's no approach being made. And if anything was to happen, he reckons it'd be maybe a couple of years down the road. He did say, though, Karl, which is good news for us, Rovers would be interested in playing if that carrot was dangled in front of them. So I don't know, Karl, maybe we need to start saving now for that Las Vegas trip. Hopefully it could be a World Club game, and we could be taking on one at Brisbane or someone for an actual trophy. How good would that be?
Oh yeah, it's all pipe dream stuff, isn't it? Because with all due respect, most of the Red Army and most of Hull Kingston Rovers supporters are working class people, aren't they? So as much as I like the idea in theory, you know, it sounds great, doesn't it? It's one of them where I think you would struggle to take a few thousand. So it's all well and good in theory, but yeah, it's a pipe dream at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose, James, won't be logging on to teletext just yet to book our flights, will we?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it'd be good. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it goes on.
Yeah, definitely. There was a bit coy. Willie Peters was quizzed about new signings and who's in the pipeline. He said that there'll be 2 to 3 new signings, which will be pretty much the squad for next season. So supporters will know how we're going to line up next year. He expects them to be announced in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So I suppose, James, it's watch this space, isn't it? I mean, in terms of rugby league, it's silly season, isn't it? We've just seen the latest one is John Bateman supposed to be now being offered to Super League clubs. I mean, that lot over there, they seem to be signing everyone. I don't think John Bateman's the right side of 33 yet, so he's probably got no chance of earning a deal over there. But obviously, you know, if these deals are set to be announced in 4 to 6 weeks, I suppose it's going to ramp up, isn't it, over the next few weeks in terms of names being linked with the Robins.
It is. I think, you know, obviously he was very non-committal about Tom Davies, but, you know, I think when they were talking about it, I think there's a few interesting comments around, you know, they are now sort of looking at top table recruitment. And given where the club has got to and sort of progressed, we are going to be going in for those sort of type of top players. Also, the fact that they're probably going to be more, they are going to be sort of non-quota, they are going to be non-quota players, because you said the quota's full, and you can, I think, sort of obviously infer from that they're obviously not going to be looking to offload a quota player to bring somebody else in. But no, again, it's exciting. I think when they do get announced, it'll probably become as no surprise really when the other players who were announced are. Like I say, we think Tom Davies is going to be one of them. Doro's probably going to be another one. And then just I think we need a hooker, don't we? Really, if with Butterworth going and Parcell going, we need somebody to be backing up with Jez.
Yeah. Any other areas of the pitch, Karl, that you like to see the Robin strengthen?
Yeah, that was going to be my question for one of you guys, because we get linked with all these wingers and centres, don't we, and whatnot, but we don't. I know we've signed Hargreaves for next year, and he's obviously a quality, experienced signing, but I still think we needed that bit of punch off the bench, if I'm honest. So I'd probably like to see another forward, in my opinion. So I still think we're quite light.
Yeah, same here, Karl, as well. I think, particularly given that, Matt Staunton's supposedly on his way to Wakefield and George King's on his way to Huddersfield, leaving his, I think, two really good players. Warrior Hargreaves is coming in. And again, there's some interesting comments on him coming in as well, in terms of he's on there for a year, but never say never about extending it, which I thought was quite interesting. He said he's still... it's all hypothetical, isn't it? But yeah, I agree with you, Karl. We probably do need another forward coming in.
Yeah,
and I suppose James as well. Yeah, and also I was just going to say on that, we seem to get, because of the expansive rugby league play in the last few years, we always seem to get linked with backs, don't we? Wingers, fullback, centres, all the backfield unit. We seem to get linked to straight away, and we just sort of muddle away with what we've got in terms of our forwards, and we've got a good pack. But I just think some weeks when we pick up the odd knock here and there, the bench isn't as strong as some of the other top 3 or 4 teams, and we need to be matching those to be at that sort of end of the table year on year. So I think for me, it's a massive thing.
Yeah. Tiger 2001. He said over on YouTube, any idea what the 2 big announcements worldwide branding will be? Paul Lakin did say, didn't he, that there's going to be an announcement next week, and then when it was pushed by James Hogarth, I think he said it's one that the supporters will get really excited about. And then I think he said there was another announcement set to be made in a couple of months. I mean, who knows? It could be a collaboration with somebody. It could be. I mean, it was. I think Paul Lakin, James, did refer to the fact that it'd be something that supporters would be excited about, which means, I think it's something that supporters will get. Some supporters will be able to buy into something, something along them lines where supporters will benefit from it, not just a sponsor who's putting money into the club kind of thing. Yeah,
no, it was really quite an interesting part of the conversation, that for me, because obviously it sort of highlighted the link up with the Port Moresby Vipers in terms of actually sort of trying to get the linking the club internationally. But that's obviously on the playing side, whereas what they're looking to do, announce over the next sort of few months, is more about sort of making the brand into a sort of an international brand and getting that recognition, overseas. And I think, again, that's probably only going to be a good thing, because if people get the brand and understand that brand, and particularly players as well, they're going to want to come to the club as well. So it's quite smart strategy for me.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Karl, about branding. I mean, don't forget, it wasn't so long ago, was it, that the club obviously changed the badge, made sort of, not did away with Hull Kingston Rovers, but went down the route of Hull KR, KR being the prominent part of it. And there was a lot of people at the time who wasn't happy with that. We seem to have moved on from that now, whether people like it or not. Shirt sales are going through the roof. I think we've had record shirt sales, so people are obviously happy with the new badge and stuff. And I suppose it's just the evolution of the club, isn't it, as we move forward on the field, but off it as well. Deals like this, what are potentially going to be happening, it's only for the benefit of the clubs, and I suppose the supporters, we've just got to go along with it. and trust the people who are in charge that they're doing it for the benefit of the club?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the time with the rebranding of the badge and everything, it's been that badge for a long time, and me included. Most people don't like change, do they? They like to signify what they know and stick to what they know. But with the digital world now and the power of internet and social media and everything all that goes around the world, you have to move forward with the times. And yes, there was a bit of a huff and a puff about it originally, but it's all forgotten now. And like you say, it is definitely beneficial for the club. So for me, it had to be done. It was just a case of when rather than if. So yeah, it's a massive plus. And I think when Paul Lakin come back to the club, I think since he's came back, you can actually see where we have gone off the field with him. He's obviously got a lot of links when he was in football with Stoke, etc. So he has brought a lot of value to the club, and I think that's only good moving forward.
Yeah, James, and I suppose though it's not progress investment at all costs, isn't it? And that was highlighted with the fact that the binned off P&O pretty quickly after they saw not just the reaction of supporters or some supporters, but also some of the key stakeholders in the city. Obviously, 𝗵𝗂𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 was very vocal in his thoughts on the deal. So they are prepared to listen to supporters, and I suppose whatever your thoughts are on the deal, the fact that they was happy to go back on that and listen to supporters is a positive.
I totally agree. I think Lakin was saying is sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say we got this one wrong. And when the club realised and the vociferous nature of the objections to it, I think they held their hands up and said we've got this one wrong. Went back to P&O and said we're pulling out, and fair dues to them, because at the end of the day. They probably took that long-term view that they've invested a lot of money in the brand and developing the brand, and then that potential link with P&O was going to disrupt that equity in the brand and potentially damage it. And if they're looking to develop it, globally, they couldn't really sort of carry on doing that. So no, fair dues to them for holding their hands up and sort of saying we've got this one wrong and reversing it. Yeah,
I suppose it's probably an example of. Turning down what would have been decent money in the short term for a longer term view. So, good to see him doing that. Although obviously he's probably hit him in the pocket. Although they did say, didn't they, that they're working on a number of deals with national and big regional companies. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure there'll be more news on this and there'll be more deals as we go on through 2024 and into 2025. Tiger Robin, he's put on YouTube. I wonder if the rumour is a link with, James, you're going to have to help me, Villeneuve in France,
yeah.
The Port Moresby deal. Something I heard from a decent source. You guys heard anything like this? I've not heard anything specific about France, but I've heard that they are looking to make more partnerships across the globe. So, there's every chance, isn't there? France is still an untapped market, so to speak. You look at the number of French players in Super League, take away Catalan Dragons, and there's still only a handful, isn't there? So I suppose it's still an opportunity to get players over here and expose them to Super League rugby, and we'll see how that pans out. That was pretty much it, wasn't it? There wasn't much else announced on the night. I mean, like I said, if you was tuning in, Karl, for some major announcement, it's pretty tame. But do you know what was impressive, Karl, is just how well Paul Lakin and Willie Peters come across, and the two people who I've still got the utmost faith in. Yeah,
for me, do you know what the biggest thing is? The two guys who speak, you listen and you feel the confidence in what they're saying because they know what they're doing and they know the long-term project that they're doing. And that's not just those two guys, as the club as a whole. We can see progress off the back of their confidence. So for me, it's definitely progress on and off the field, and I think there's a lot fans are believing in what's happening because things are happening and moving forward. So it's all good.
Yeah, we'll just finish on Tiger 2001 again. Lakin also mentioned moving Craven Street away from the pitch and building any new stand around it. He did say, didn't he, that there was potential to use land at the back of the south stand to house Craven Street, with any potential new development then being situated in front of it. To be honest, though, I do think that's years away. You know, I think the east stand extension is the next logical step. Of course, they've spoke about how the west stand needs redeveloping, and how important that would be to generating more income for the club. So I do think it'd be the east stand first, and then the west stand, and who knows? I mean, you know, let's hope that the Rovers continue on this upward trajectory, and the demand, you know, keeps growing for people to watch Robin, because if the demand's there, then that's how things happen.
Yeah.
Let's move on to last Saturday.
God.
James, before you got to Doncaster and you got to the 𝗂𝗡𝗴𝗏 Stadium, what were your hopes for the day?
Oh God, my hopes were that we'd put a performance in, we'd go toe to toe with a really good Wigan team, and give a really good account of ourselves. And given the, I think, recent history in terms of when we played them, we've actually come out on top in I think it's about 3 of the last 6 games against them. Actually, in with a chance of beating them and getting to Wembley again.
Yeah, I mean, Karl, if we're honest, I think if we're honest, Karl, there's probably not one Hull Kingston Rovers supporter who thought the performance would be like it was and the scoreline would be what it was. And I'd also throw in, there'd probably not many Wigan supporters who probably thought the same thing. 24-0 down at half time, 38 points to 6, the final result. Pretty much schooled in every single department. A rampant Wigan side. I would say, though, Karl, as good as Wigan was, we didn't have to give them some leg ups, didn't we? And I don't even want to talk about the referee just yet, but for the Robins, we didn't have to give them some leg ups.
No, legs, arms, elbows, knees, toes, any kind of leg up they literally got on Saturday, didn't they? I mean, don't get me wrong, Wigan are the best side in the world on paper. Sorry, so yes, we know they're a good side. Yes, we know they've got a lot of strike. You know, they can win games in different ways, different manners. They can defend themselves to victory. They can attack and burn you down. But I don't know. The only way I can put it is, like you said, nobody saw it coming, and hopefully it was a freak one-off result, because they didn't know words for it, is they? Because yes, they weren't great against Warrington, but there was a bit of a fight there, wasn't there? And it's one of those where you think, well, where's it come from? Where's that performance go? Lack of performance come from? And the most frustrating thing for me was, I think the first 15 minutes or so, we had Wigan penned back in their half. And then all of a sudden, they got one try, scored one opportunity, scored one try. And then they got an opportunity 5 minutes later and scored a second try. So within the first 25 minutes, they had 2 attacks and there was 2 scores up. So there was a lot of freak stuff going on, but we certainly didn't help ourselves. I think we pretty much handed them three tries on the plate, which was really disappointing. And from that point on, you was always chasing the game. And I can't put a finger on why, because as good as Wigan are, like I said earlier, I don't think they was at full throttle. I thought they looked clinical when they got the ball in the right areas, but it's not like they battered us all over for a full 80 minutes and they dominated the game and they should have put 50 or 60 on us. I just thought they was clinical when they needed to be, off the back of our poor performance and poor errors in crucial parts of the game. Yeah,
I mean, James Bazza, 85, he's put, we look so disconnected, like we've lost our way a bit. I mean, as soon as Jake Ward went over for that first try, and Hicko didn't cover himself in glory with that tackle, did he? But I just cast my mind back to the Warrington game, and I just thought, here we go again, because there was all the build-up pre-game, the fans were up for it, the players looked up for it. I had the settings for it to be a great game, and then we just saw that try in the 4th minute, and I don't know. I think even then, if I'm really honest, I think my bubble burst a little bit, because I just thought, well, we're not having Groundhog Day here. We'd already done that at Warrington the game before, and then Wardle goes over, and you think,
Yeah, I mean, before the game, we were talking about, we needed to have a very solid start, and ideally score first. But yeah, it was very much deja vu against the Warrington game, where we just sort of, I don't know, like I said, just can't put your finger on what happened. It just sort of wasn't happening, wasn't clicking. And then just after the Warrington game, you give something like Warrington 18 start, you give Wigan 24 start. You're not going to come back from that. If they took half their team off, you would probably still struggle. Still have struggled. Like say, the frustrating thing for me was Wigan didn't need to work hard for their tries. And that's the frustrating thing. Like I say, we just gifted it to them, put a bow on it for them and said, there you are, you're going to score a try. You contrast that with the next day when Warrington played Huddersfield. Warrington created their own tries and scored their own tries. Wigan, got the players across the field who can create tries from nothing without giving them a leg up. And we just sort of said, there you are, off you go and score a try. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, Karl, we was sat right behind sort of Ryan Hall for Wigan's second try. I mean, Bevan French, don't get me wrong, puts it on an absolute sixpence for 𝗵𝗡 just to pluck out the air and go over for the try line. I mean, Ryan Hall was out of position. That left edge seems to be at 6s and 7s, didn't it? The players didn't know whether to come in and cover the men, or they didn't know whether to hold the positions. Ultimately, it led to a Wigan try, but I do think we're starting to see Ryan Hall just get caught out in certain positions sometime, and he's getting exposed a lot more. Albeit, I don't think his centre and second row helping him out much at the moment either.
No, I think that's probably a big factor in it all. There wasn't many that was doing a great deal. Mikey tried his heart out as normal, didn't he? But I think you can pick holes in anything when majority of the team's been under par. So yeah, I think Ryan has obviously been a tremendous player, and he'll carry on doing his best. But he just last couple of games he hasn't been at the races. And don't get me wrong, there's not just him. There's a number of people, number of players. That right edge has been terrible the last couple of games again, hasn't it? Icko shooting out, just flying off the wing, missing tackles. Even Tyrone May not getting over quick enough. And there's a number of factors that are put together for a couple of poor performances. As James was discussing, then I was trying to put my finger on it, and maybe I'm clutching at straws, but the only thing I can actually, and people might think, oh yeah, it's a silly statement to make and something daft to say, but it's the last two away games, isn't it? Are we getting too reliant on our home form, thinking, right, we're making it a bit of a fortress, we've got the crowd behind us, we'll get our points at home. The last two even the Catalan game away, I know, and it was a neutral venue on Saturday, but the last three away venues, so to speak, we've been really, really poor, haven't we? So maybe I'm clutching at straws, but it just seems a bit of a coincidence that we play really well at home, in our fortress with our fans behind us. But when we go away, it's just sort of either there or here, and it's just so difficult to put your finger on.
Yeah, and I think when that sets in as well, it sort of gives the opposition a boost as well, because now they will think, okay, if we go to Hull KR, we know it's going to be an intimidating atmosphere. We know it's going to be a bit rowdy. If we handle that, we handle that. But then they know that if the Rovers are coming to their ground, you can start fast against them, and then potentially within 15 minutes you're 18 points up. It's game one. So then you can just put the cue on the rack and just hold them back, hold us out. And I think it's becoming a real issue, because I think it was James O'Brien highlighted that when we lost to Warrington, we haven't won outside of Yorkshire since February 2023, and that was at Salford. And before that, it was away at Warrington in July 2022. So it's becoming a real monkey on the back.
Yeah.
And if we're going to wanting to be serious about contenders and getting to playoffs, we've said this before on the cast that we need to be going away to the likes of Wigan and Saints and Catalan and Warrington and winning. Not going to win all of them, but you win 2 or 3. You're making a statement, and you're also then that potentially damaging your playoff rivals as well. And
also as well, I think you make a good point there, James, because I think I said to Chris on the way back in the car, I think Saturday was a pretty much a reminder of, yes, we're making great progress, but we're still quite a bit off in terms of the consistency. In terms of the consistency. So And again, it's just another reminder where we need to keep knuckling down, keep progressing as a squad, bring a couple of bodies in next year. And don't get me wrong, the season's not done by any stretch of the imagination. But if we want to be in that top 4 or 5, we have to improve our form consistently, home and away.
Yeah. I mean, the other things I think the other thing to bear in mind is I think all teams at some stage in the season will go through a bad patch. Are we potentially going through our bad patch now? So we're getting out of the way, ready for July, August, September when you're getting towards the business end of the season.
Yeah, but and away from the overall performance, though, players making individual mistakes is just killing us at the moment. We saw 𝗕𝗂𝗡𝗏𝗏 with a knock-on, which led to Nsemba going over. I mean, probably 𝗕𝗂𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏's worst game in a Rovers shirt, James.
It's pretty bad, wasn't it? Yeah, it's like I say, it's just one of the things. It's been so consistently good that suddenly it makes an error, a couple of errors, and it becomes highlighted. He dropped the ball against Warrington, didn't he? It's just sort of it's been safe as houses for the rest of the season at full back, and then suddenly the last 2 games he's dropping balls, and I was sort of having nightmares because we were sort of sat in the West Stand. And that we couldn't really see what was happening in the far corner. But every time the ball went up, I was just like, more or less covering my eyes, thinking, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Here the Wigan fans cheering and then the scoring, So
we saw Joe Burgess come up with another mistake, which led to another try for 𝗵𝗂𝗍. I mean, the second half didn't really get any better. We saw Tyler Dupree powered over from just a few yards out. 𝗀𝗽𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏 rounded up the scoring, I suppose. The best moment for the Robins was the try, wasn't it? We saw the kick from Tyrone May come in. Mikey Lewis, I mean, I'll never get sick of seeing that pass. Probably the only player on the pitch, Karl, who could come away with a commendation, wasn't it? I suppose for me, I know I wax lyrical about Mikey Smith, but he looked like the only player in the Robins shirt who seemed to be getting the goal forward, taking the ball by the arms, trying to make something happen, but doing it at pace as well. I mean, he nearly scored the try of the season for me, didn't he, in that first half, where he put the kick in, he managed to get the ball back, then he puts a chip over, and he almost races through, and the ball just runs away from him. But yeah, that try Joe Burgess scored was probably as good as it got for the Robins, and it was just a pretty miserable day, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's like I said earlier, whether the team's playing not, good or not, Mikey's there, isn't he? He's a busy guy, isn't he? He's always looking for chinks in the opposition armour. He's always running people down. He's always trying to commit defenders. So, like you say, if there was one player that came out with a little bit of credit to his name, it was definitely Mikey Lewis, and that's what we all love about him so much, isn't it? So, long may it continue.
Yeah, and James, referee Kendall came in for a little bit of criticism from some Hull Kingston Rovers supporters. Can you understand that?
Yeah, I can do. It just sort of seemed to be, 50-50s, 60-40s weren't going our way. But at the end of the day, you can't blame Kendall's performance for that defeat. I think the first, given that penalty for offside, that led to their first try. I think, yeah, you're thinking, well, actually, you're going to be okay. You're setting your marker out now. We're going to be consistent throughout the whole game, and I just don't think he was from an offside point of view. But then that's up to the judges, isn't it, who monitor that now? Yeah. We you know what you get with Kendall. It's the Chris Kendall show whatever time you're on. So you just got to think, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and Ryan Hall did say, didn't he, at halftime when he was interviewed coming off the field, none of the 24-0 scoreline at halftime was down to the referee. It was down to Rovers' own errors and style of play. So the players recognised it was on them. Interesting that first one though, wasn't it? With the offside, because it looks every inch a mile forward pass. But that is the game, isn't it? And that doesn't lead that shouldn't lead to 38 points, should it? That's the point, and that's why I questioned at the end. I put on social media, and it wasn't an instant reaction. It was more a thought of, where Willie Peters has talked about the Rovers DNA, the way we play, the unacceptables, that we don't do, and that performance for me though just left me questioning why have we suddenly sort of come away from what we was doing so well at home when we beat Wigan and St Helens, what we've seen the Robins do so well? And like Karl and you've said, maybe it's the fear factor of playing away from home. They look under pressure, don't they? They look like, you know, when we're at home, they're such like a tight unit. You know, the centres, the wingers, the centres, the second rows are so tight in the defence. When we look like we've got more punch in the forwards when we go forward. Tyrone May looks like a different player at home as well. I mean, he seems to have gone very quiet of the last couple of games. And maybe it is that away factor just seems to be playing on the players' minds, and it's something that needs stamping out quickly, isn't it? And, you know, I don't want to say it, but I have already said it. London is probably the best game for us to have. But, of course, I probably put the kiss of death on that now. But I suppose if you need to get back on the horse, you know, that's the game you probably would look for to have up next.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll come on to that now because London is up next. 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝗏, we've mentioned him. He's definitely out of Sunday's game, Karl. He suffered a HIA. Of course, immediately after the game, Dean Hadley and 𝗂𝗡𝗏𝗏, they were both touch and go whether they'd be in the squad for the game on Sunday, let alone be playing. Willie Peters has spoken today and said that Dean Hadley and Tangano have trained all week and will be in contention, which is great news. And, of course, we've got Jack Brown and Jack Broadbent coming back into contention after they were cup-tied, and a new loan signing, Danny Richardson. So, you know, we are pretty much at full strength going into that game against London, Karl. Yeah,
most definitely. You know, when you play a bottom of the league side and it's off the back of a defeat yourself, you think, oh yeah, it's quite on paper, it's quite a good game to go back to, isn't it? But unfortunately, rugby league's not played on paper, and you're still gonna have to equip yourself correctly and go through your routines and make sure you prepare yourself properly as a player to get the result you want. So nothing's a given. I mean, I said on Humberside earlier in the week with James Hogarth that, you know, I asked the same question, and it's not played on paper. And the games I have seen of London this year, which is pretty much every single game, yes, they haven't been great for 80 minutes, but they've been good for 10, 15 minute spells. So if you'll let them get a bit of a roll on, they're going to put some points on you, whoever you are. So we can't let them get into that cycle of playing well for 10, 15 minutes. And because all it takes is a couple of early tries from the home team, Rovers and all the away fans will get twitchy and nervous, and it could be in for a long day. Having said that, if we prepare ourselves in the right manner, like I said earlier, you know, and you really go at it with a fast start and put the pressure on London, the chances are Rovers will come up with the spoils. So hopefully it'll be the latter. Yeah,
great name drop there, Karl. Radio Humberside, James Hogarth. So it's not just the big hitters like Willie Peters and Paul Lakin who get on there, and it's also Carl Smith as well. So I look forward to hearing you in the future on BBC Radio Humberside. If you look at the squad, James, for the semi-final game against Wigan, it featured 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝗏, Rhys Butterworth. Well, we'd know 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝗏 isn't playing, and Rhys Butterworth's joined Dewsbury on a loan deal, so they won't be in the squad. Jack Brown, Jack Broadbent, you'd expect them to come straight back in. So the question mark is Louis Gorman or Louis Tennyson, who were both named in that 21-man squad. Did they both drop out to accommodate Danny Richardson, or does Danny Richardson not feature in the 21-man squad? And does either Louis Gorman and Leo Tennyson play?
Tough one, isn't it?
On the back of the 3-year deal announced for Louis Gorman.
Yeah. I suppose the question for me, the question would be who's going to come in on the wing to replace Burgess. I mean, the logical thing would be to put Gorman straight into the wing, but he's more of a centre of fullback, isn't he? So do you then shift Ewald from fullback to wing to accommodate Gorman at fullback, and leaving Hiku at centre rather than putting him back to fullback where he didn't do so great at the beginning of the season? Interesting one. For me, I think Tennyson and Brown are going to. Oh God, I don't know. Honestly, don't know.
Yeah, just a quick one on that, Chris. Just a quick one on that. I might be incorrect here, but I'm pretty sure Broadbent has played wing for Castleford a couple of times, so that might be an option that Broadbent goes to the wing. And also, as well, I was reading earlier on that Castleford's Jacob Miller has got an injury. I think 6 weeks injury. So I don't know if there's any recall on Danny Richardson. So maybe something will come of that as well.
Yeah, it'd be interesting that, won't it? Because of course you're right. Miller has suffered an injury. I mean, the fact that Reynolds has gone over to that lot, you'd assume that any loan deal to bring a player in to replace him would be without a recall clause on it, based on the fact as well, Danny Richardson is out of contract at Castleford Tigers. So, you know, we don't want to be in a position where we're short again, do we? So, because I can't see Reynolds ever being recalled back to play for Rovers. So, watch the space on that one. You're right, Jack Broadbent has played on the wing. Another shout, of course, Karl, is 𝗕𝗂𝗡𝗁, whether he could go out onto the wing and partner 𝗦𝗣𝗢𝗂𝗀𝗋. Gorman, you know, like James said, he has predominantly played while on dual reg with Featherstone at fullback. Yeah, it's an interesting one, I suppose, if you are going to take a bit of a gamble, although it'll be a calculated gamble, I suppose, James. It's against London where you're best doing it.
Yeah, it is, but by the same token, I don't think we can, like I say, we can't go there totally underestimating London. As you said, they get a couple of quick tries, then the pressure suddenly goes on to Rovers. And I remember watched London against Salford a few weeks ago, and they were very dogged, and Salford really struggled against them. And I think they're a top 6 side, and if they can do that, and like I said, just get they got a couple of quick tries. We're not fully on our full game, then potentially it could be a bit of a squeaky boom afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, Karl, also don't forget they are, of course, coming off the back of a week off, which is so important to them as well, isn't it? Where they've got a number of part-time players playing for them, so the fact that they've had an extra week to recuperate and off the back of that famous win over that lot will play a big factor in it. I mean, but come on, we shouldn't lose, should we?
No, I don't think we will lose. I don't think we will lose. It's just prepping ourselves and getting ourselves mentally right and make sure the attitude's right on game day. And like I say, if you get all those things right, there's no reason why Rovers shouldn't blow them out the water.
Yeah, it's all about the fast start, isn't it? And what we've seen this season, though, James, and credit to the Robins, is when they have suffered a setback, they've responded. And that is very much when we talk about the DNA of Hull Kingston Rovers, is that when you get knocked off the horse, you get back on it straight away and you come back harder. And, potentially this could be a torrid afternoon for London, because if Rovers do hit the straps and the fully focused like we fully expect them to be, firm pitch, warm weather, we've got strike players there who are looking to make amends from that Wigan game and, of course, the Warrington game before that. So, of course, there's a bit of doom and gloom, a bit of negativity on the back of the defeat. I think there's also a bit of realism about where we are and where we are in the pecking order and where this team is, but also hopeful about the future and what can come from it and where we're heading. So, yeah, it is an exciting encounter. And there's going to be a lot of Hull Kingston Rovers supporters there as well, James. I think, from the numbers, they're expecting at least 800 to 900, potentially pushing 1,000 Hull KR supporters. I mean, it is our only trip to London this season.
Yeah, we're going. Looking forward to it. But yeah, I think that hopefully they'll go into the game with the attitude that they've got some wrongs to right, and really just in a way just take it out on London. And just show, we've had some couple of setbacks. We've not played well, but we can play well. We are a good team. We have got good players. We are solid. And if you look at the next few games coming up, they are all winnable. The other teams at the top of the table, they're all starting to play each other. I think Wigan and Warrington play each other next week, which is the first time they've played. So that's going to knock one of them out, off kilter a bit. So yeah, I think the next few games are going to be key again, just to sort of, I think, get that confidence back that we've had from beating, the likes of Wigan and Saints. It seems daft you sort of say, no, you're beating London to gain some confidence, but we need that mentality, as you sort of mentioned earlier. Get that winning mentality back and getting the structures right, getting defence right, and getting hopefully scoring some decent points. Then again, builds that confidence into games going forward.
Yeah, definitely. What's your expectations for the game, Karl?
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I think as long as we, prepare ourselves right, and we're professional in what we do, and we work hard, I think we'll win convincingly. But we just can't go in half-hearted, and we can't. I'm sure the boys won't do, because, like James says, off the back of a couple of performances, we need a performance. And as bad as it's been the last couple of weeks, momentum's a massive thing in rugby league. And so as soon as you can start that game with a bit of momentum, we shouldn't have no issues, really.
Yeah, definitely. Capital calling on Sunday. I mean, if you are going to the game, make sure you're loud and proud. It's going to be a fantastic afternoon. Stacey Morforth, she's tuning in on YouTube. She's put, I honestly think after last week, they won't take London or anyone for granted. Well, we'd hope not. Fully in agreement. She's also said London have nothing to lose, so they will come out strong. But we need to go into this game like we did against Wigan and St Helens. And I'm sure it'll be a rejuvenated side. Some club news. The game against Catalan has been moved from Friday, July the 5th to Saturday, July the 6th. It'll kick off at, what time will it kick off?
5:30, isn't it?
5:30. And Tiger 2001 has commented again. What do you think of Sky moving the Catalans home game and putting it on directly against a potential England-France Euro 2024 quarterfinal? I suppose if you're a Hull Kingston Rovers England supporter, you'd be pretty pissed off. Ironically, it is England v France, albeit in a different code. I mean, it's a bit of a hot topic, isn't it, around scheduling, James? And we've seen it around the scheduling of Super League fixtures, where, of course, we know Sky is screening all games, and we've got 3 games on a Friday night, for instance, all kicking off at 8 p.m. I suppose, rugby league, it's its own sport. It can't worry about what other sports are doing in terms of their scheduling. And of course, Sky will want to put up things against other sports to try and nick viewers, won't they? So that's how scheduling goes. If that does happen, though, I will have an interested eye on it, because I've got a ticket for the semi-final if England get there. So I will have one eye on Rovers and Catalan and potentially one eye on England v France. So we'll see how that pans out. But what do you make of scheduling just in general, James?
I must admit, when they announced there were going to be all the games were going to tell you, I thought they would be on different times. Because and then the position, is marketed as every game's live on Super League and watch them all, etc. But 3 of them are kicking off at 8 o'clock on a Friday night. You can't watch all of them unless you've got 3 TVs going and you're trying to follow all of them. It's just bonkers, and they don't help it then when they're having score updates from other games that may wanting to record and watch at a later stage. It just doesn't make sense. I don't think it's working out as we thought it would do. But then I suppose if you're going to have to spread them out over the weekend, it probably means you're going to have a Thursday game every week, 1 on a Friday, probably 2 on a Saturday, 1 at lunchtime, 1 in the evening, and then 2 on a Sunday. Which I suppose it's fine. It's fine. But the main thing is, for me, is not moving the games. So I can't understand why the Rovers Catalan game is being moved from a Friday night to a Saturday tea time. Again, surely the whole point was that they're having these games, they're all going to be televised, they set the timings, they ain't going to change because they're not having to move for TV. This is a head scratcher, this one. I just don't get it.
I suppose the problem with scheduling as well, though, Karl, is that because the teams need a minimum amount of days off between fixtures, it's hard to move the games around. But also, I do remember, and I think it was it last season when the RSG was still about and we had a fans forum, and I think Paul Lakin was there, and there was quizzed about Friday night games and why the Robins favoured them, and they actually said, well, actually, most Super League teams favour the Friday night games because that's where they can generate most income from spectators and through corporate etc., etc. And I suppose for clubs, James, I mean, take it away from Sky schedulers, but for the clubs, they want these Friday night games. And Karl, I mean, I suppose this is a problem with Super League at the moment, though, isn't it? Where because the clubs have so much power and influence, you know, it's like turkeys voting for Christmas, isn't it? They're not going to vote for something that might hinder them, although it might be better for the longer term, for the game, better in the long term. I suppose this is part of the IMG thing, and it needs something looking at where, you know, clubs, do they have too much power? I don't know.
No, I don't. I think it's another topic, another subject where you can't please everybody, can you? I get James' point a minute ago saying, "Oh, I didn't think they'd be all on at the same time." Blah 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 blah. But for years and years, we've been saying all games need to be televised. All games need to be televised. Now they're all televised. We're not happy what time they're on. So, as a product, they're trying to progress the product and put the product out there. But then it's not going to suit everybody's needs, isn't it? So, yes, you know, it's better to have the games on a Friday night for more revenue. The chances are you'll get supporters coming down with families, beers, food, live entertainment, etc. And if you ask majority of clubs, you know, CEOs, chairmen, they'll all say Friday nights, because years ago when we used to have all the Sunday games, it was like, oh, well, actually Sunday gone. And people want to be doing family things on a Sunday, don't they? So, whereas, you know, you're waiting for a Sunday afternoon game, you're waiting around all morning to go to the rugby. Some families might want to arrange a day out. So you can't please everybody, can you, in any walk of life? So rugby league's no different.
You would love a Sunday afternoon kick-off, Karl. Imagine the amount of govy jobs you could get done on a Sunday morning then.
No, I'm off the tools now, mate.
Karl, who's watching on YouTube, he's not very happy. He's put 3 question marks, two exclamation marks, another 3 question marks. Yeah, what's that all about? Why 3 kicking off at the same time? They stagger them in Oz. Why not here? Just why? It's not rocket science. I suppose the only difference between here and over in Australia is the time zones and the different times, which allows them to stagger the kickoff times, which means that you can do that. Obviously, we don't have them time zones, which makes it a little bit more difficult. All I would say is I love a Thursday night game, James, when I'm watching it.
Yeah.
If it's Rovers, I have to travel down the M62.
I say, when you come back from Warrington on a Thursday night, it's not so great, is it?
It's not so great whatsoever. And I think, have we got one against Castleford coming up?
Castleford, which isn't too bad. It's only down the road, isn't it? I can cope with that one, but yeah. Until a
1 hour journey to Castleford coming home turns into a 2.5 hour one, divided by Howden, Market Wheaton, the A1079, and Rounding to Hull, which is,
I bloody hope not, because I'm on holiday the day after.
Oh, really? Yeah.
My flight is the morning after, so it'll be a quick dart, hopefully.
Probably the worst star version that's ever been invented. But no, guys, great to have you on this week's Robin Pod. We travelled to London in big numbers. We're ready to back the boys. We want them to get back on the horse. Congratulations to Hull Kingston women's side, who recorded a 32-8 victory over Bradford. They got back on the horse after being defeated by Leigh, 52-8. There's no reason why the men's side can't do it. Like I said, if you're going to London on Sunday, back the boys, be loud and proud. And of course, the Robin Pod Weekly is powered by Budget Ties Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials, and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers.